Welcome to the Holistic Success Show. I'm Elizabeth Lozano.
And my name is Dr. Robert Puff. Today we're going to have a doctor coming on talking about kinesiology and how it can help you be whole and healthy.
We're going to be watching some clips from Dr. Puff about goals, and then the other one will be about faith.
And then we're going to have a question about what do you do if your parent is struggling emotionally? How can you be there for them?
And also we'll be answering another question about how to cope with your partner's serious and chronic illness.
Thank you for being here, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you.
In the whole picture of life, how do goals play a role? How do goals fit into being holistically healthy and successful? They're actually very important because if you don't know where you're going, you don't know where you're going to end up. And let me use a couple analogies to prove that point. Let's say you're a captain of a ship and you're leaving LA Harbor and you're headed for Hawaii. You'll aim your ship at Hawaii, and this is what captains do when they're aiming for Hawaii. But all along the way, the wind blows, the currents shift, and you have to make course corrections along the way, or you will not get to Hawaii. You'll never get there unless you adjust along the way. And so goals are like that. They help you make those adjustments along the way. You know where you're going, the goal, but along the way comes things that get in the way of getting there, so you adjust. Similarly, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when we went to the moon, when we were going to the moon in the Apollo missions, they would again aim at the moon. There's the moon up there, I'm going to aim for it. And they shot their rockets off. But along the way, they had to make course adjustments with the retro rockets, those little rockets on the side. Because what would happen is, again, they'd had to adjust for changes and everything that happened. So they wouldn't get there unless they made adjustments all along the way. And life is like that. You need to know where you're going. There are what I call short-term goals, medium-term goals, and long-term goals. And they can be an array of things. They can be financial, they can be relational. Perhaps you say, I want to find a spouse, someone I can spend my life with. They can be emotional, spiritual. I want to grow in this arena. I really need to develop this skill. And I said they can be short-term too. I want to lose 10 pounds by Christmas. So what you do is you write them down and you periodically look at them because it's important to know where you're going. But where a lot of people get caught with goals is they say they're looking at them all the time or they're thinking about them all the time, which keeps them from living in the here and now. So really it's a balance, that constant sense of balance that we are regularly talking about. You have to balance goals with living in the moment, being present. Both need to be there. Sometimes you look at your goals. Perhaps you'll do it weekly. You'll pull them out and say, okay, what are my goals? What am I heading towards? And the shorter term goals you look at more often. And the long-term goals you may look at less often. You say, okay, am I heading in that direction? Do I still want to go there? But mostly what you're doing in life is you're living here, living now. Because you want to make sure as you go to the moon, as you're going to Hawaii, that you're enjoying the journey. You really want to have a wonderful time on the way there and not just be thinking when I get to the goal, everything I'm looking for will be fine. Because once you reach that goal, you have the next place to go to. So really the ultimate goal, if I may say that, is to live really present today and moving forward towards things that will be good for you. But don't let the goals keep you from living today. So live the day and continue to work forward and grow. Peace.
Our first question comes to us from Laura from San Diego, California. And she writes in, my mother has ended her relationship with her boyfriend of 2 years and is having a very difficult time coping with being on her own. I want to be there for her, but I'm having a difficult time since she's a parent, not a girlfriend. Do you have any advice?
Well, Laura, your feelings make sense to me. I mean, you're having a difficult time because this is your mother who you love, but she is your mother. She's not your girlfriend. And you're dealing with your mother's boyfriend, which is also difficult because he's not your father. So start with that, saying, okay, it makes sense that you are having a difficult time with this, but you love your mother. So what do you do with that? Because your mother also, which makes sense to me, is having a difficult time. And she sounds like she could use some help. Now the question to ask yourself is, can I help her and still be true to myself? Can I do both? You may not be able to, and that's okay. I mean, do surgeons, when they do operations on a person, do they do it on their own child? No, they don't. So I think it's important to say, I may not be able to be there for my mother. However, I can encourage her. I can encourage her to talk to other people. I can perhaps get her involved with counseling, getting involved with a support group. But it's important to say, I love my mom and I love myself. And so you may have to set what are called boundaries. I'll have Elizabeth tell you a little bit more about boundaries.
And boundaries are extremely important because, like Dr. Puff said, we know that you love your mother, but you do need to take care of yourself. And it may come in the sense of, saying, I love you, Mom, but this is really just a lot for me to deal with. And there are little ways that you could do it. Perhaps you can find some books that are kind of positive with dealing with the ending of a relationship, or just, dealing with loss of some sort, and you can give them to her. Or you just, by setting limits, you just tell her, Mom, it's just really tough for me right now to talk about this with you, or, I love you, but, perhaps maybe you could share this with somebody else. It's not that I don't want to hear it. It's just, it's hard for me. And you need to recognize within yourself when you're hitting that. If you're feeling uncomfortable or you're getting overwhelmed with what's going on with your mom, I know it's hard, believe me, I understand, but you need to set those limits to take care of yourself. And she may not like it, and she may even be upset with you at first, but you have to set those limits to take care of yourself. And I'm not saying don't be there for your mom. Be there for your mom, absolutely. She's been your mom, she's raised you, there's a lot of wonderful things, but there's certain limits that we have to acknowledge. We need to take care of ourselves.
Well, and it's really loving both, Anne. You love her and you love yourself. You can do both, and please do both, because it's a wonderful way to go through life, loving people, and what we so often neglect is loving ourselves.
Yeah. Which is the first thing that you need to do, actually, is to love yourself and take care of yourself. And that's one of the things, even as us, we're therapists. So people in our families and our friends will actually often come to us, which we love you all very much and we love to help you. But there's limits with even us, and we have to set those boundaries too. So set those boundaries and take care of yourself. That's what you need to do. And that's actually the best. You can model that for your mom as well. I know that sounds kind of funny because your mom will be modeling things for you since you were little, but there is that in there too, taking care of yourself.
So, good luck to you.
And thank you for your question. I'd like to welcome this week's guest. Her name is Dr. Supna Alis, and she is a chiropractic kinesiologist, and she also is a certified nutrition specialist. She has a private practice in San Juan Capistrano, California, with her husband, Dr. Glenn Alis. So thank you so much for being a guest on our show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about applied kinesiology and how it fits into your practice.
Absolutely. Applied kinesiology is the art of using muscle response testing to diagnose what's going on with the patient. There are different reflex points on the body that are related with different organs. For example, the liver is right here and the stomach is right here. And what we do is when we touch these different reflex points on the body, if there is a weakness in that area, you'll actually have a neurological response and every muscle in the body will weaken.
Okay, so what is that neurological response? Like, what does that look like?
You want me to show you?
Yes, and we actually, I have a lot of food sensitivities, unfortunately, but we have some cookies here. I'm not going to say what kind of cookies. They're very yummy cookies is what they are. It's the unfortunate part. And so why don't you go ahead and do what you normally do, I guess, without the cookies in my hand, and then we'll do it with the cookies in my hand. So I'm holding my arm strong right now.
So her arm is strong. I'm just going to push down. It's a very light resistance, and what I'm feeling for is the muscle, this muscle right here, to just lock. And I feel a nice locking in there. And I'm just going to give you an example of what we do in the office when we check different reflex points. If I were to touch the reflex point for the liver and push down, that's nice and strong. For a weak muscle, we're not going to do a whole exam on you, but just to show an example, we can actually have you hold that cookie in your hand, because we know that you have
three of them here, actually.
So I'm going to push down, and I want you to resist. And you can feel how your arm is weakening there.
It definitely is a difference. So I'm not making this up, guys. Like actually, I'm trying to hold my arm out the same amount that I was before, and it's definitely a difference. It's pretty crazy.
So that is a neurological response.
Okay.
So if there was a weakness in the liver or weakness in the stomach or the lung or heart or any other reflex point, that muscle will actually weaken, and then we can use that information to further figure out why is that weakness there.
Okay. That's pretty amazing. So it's almost like the body is kind of talking to you.
The body, yes, absolutely. The body does communicate to us through the muscle response testing.
Wow.
It's very powerful.
So what if there is a problem in a certain area, like you notice that the liver is weak or maybe the lungs or whatever area? How do you deal with that?
Well, we need to find out why there's weakness there.
Okay.
There's certain things that we can look at. Is there a structural problem? When I say structural, maybe the spine needs to be adjusted for that nerve that goes to that organ. The liver is right here, and the spine might need to be adjusted in the middle of the back so that the brain can communicate to that liver properly. So we're going to look at the structural. We're going to look at chemical, which means, are there any food allergies? Are there any sensitivities? Is the body deficient in certain nutrition that might need to feed that liver?
Okay.
We're going to look at emotional. There's different emotions that the body holds on to in different organs. For example, liver stores anger and frustration. The lung stores grief, and even modern medicine is starting to realize this. And so if the person is holding on to these emotions in a negative way, they can manifest that physically. And there's ways that we can address that using homeopathy. And then we're going to look at acupressure. We're going to look at electromagnetic radiation and toxicity on the body, and
which I'm really interested in, the electromagnetic, what was it?
electromagnetic radiation.
I'm very interested in that. Can you tell me what that is? Because I can't even pronounce the words.
Absolutely. So our world is bombarded by electromagnetic frequencies right now.
What does that mean, though? Like, what would be an example
electricity
of that?
that's in our air that we really can't see, that's affecting our body. So that's coming from electrical appliances. In today's world, computer screens and cell phones are a big source of electromagnetic frequencies that can affect our bodies. And computer screens specifically, because it's so close to our face and our heart, and so it comes into our system and bombards us, and our brains and our hearts are electrical organs, and so that electricity from the screen can actually influence our bodies in a negative way.
Wow. Okay, so I remember being younger, my mom telling me not to stand in front of the microwave. Is there actually truth to that it can kind of affect you?
Yes, but the microwaves these days, they're so high tech
Okay.
now that if you're in front of it, it's not.
So my computer sitting on my lap for many hours is more of a problem?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. They say to try to keep the screen at least 3 feet away from you, but most people have them right here on the laptop, and so that's going to affect, again, your heart, your brain, and then this area right in here. Women who have their laptops on their laps all the time, it can affect their reproductive organs because the screen is right there. Cell phones is another big one. And now with hands-free, people have the Bluetooth, and that really scares me because the electromagnetic frequency is right there, going into your brain all the time.
So what do you suggest that somebody does to counterbalance that?
There's a couple of things. My husband and I recommend a bipolar magnet that we carry on our body, and what that does is it negates that negative reaction from the electromagnetic fields. There's also something that you can purchase called Total Shield, and it's a unit that you put in your house, and it protects about 3,000 square feet worth of space, and it just negates that negative reaction that your body's going to have to electromagnetic frequencies.
Huh, okay, pretty interesting. I didn't know that it had that much of an effect.
Absolutely.
Learn something new every day.
Yes.
I guess that's why we have the show, huh? Okay, so it sounds like everything that you do, you really take a holistic approach to dealing with your clients. Can you talk to us about what that means for you in your practice and how your clients benefit from that?
Absolutely, and the easiest way to explain that is to give you an example. I'm going to talk about something that a lot of people go see chiropractors for, and that's low back pain. People go to chiropractor, they say, I have low back pain, and obviously we're going to take a complete history to find out what's going on, when did it start, why are they having this low back pain, and then we're going to do an exam on them, and that's going to include some of the muscle response testing that I showed you, checking the different reflex points, and it's also going to include muscle testing some of the muscles that support the low back. Okay, if the problem is coming from something other than structural, meaning they might have a herniated disc, their spine might be out of alignment, they just might have an injury from sports, we can address that. But a lot of the times with low back, the problem is something else. These muscles right here in the low back are related with your large intestine. And so many people have digestive issues these days with the poor diet that we're eating. So if we're not addressing their digestion and supplementing them with probiotics, and if they have yeast or a parasite, and helping them to get rid of that, we can adjust their low back all we want.
It's not going to make a
difference.
But
we're never going to make a difference. We might get some results, but it's not going to make their pain go away. It's always going to come back. From an emotional point of view, money issues, financial concerns, we store in our low back. So if people have financial stress, which
Probably a lot of that lately.
Exactly, you can hold on to that in your low back. So in our office, we're going to look at all of those things. We're definitely going to adjust the spine. We are chiropractors. We're going to work on the muscles, maybe recommend some massage just to give them some symptomatic relief. But what we need to do is dig deeper to find out what is really causing that low back pain.
Now, I know in your practice you have all these things. You have the work that you and your husband do. You also have a massage therapist.
Yes.
You also have, what are the other people that you have that work in collaboration with you?
We have an acupuncturist.
Okay.
And we had an hypnotherapist.
Okay. So if somebody would like to get a hold of you or find out more about you or the work that you do, or perhaps are in another place in, the country or maybe even the world where maybe you can kind of help give them more information, what's the best way that somebody can kind of reach you or find your website?
We have a website. It's www.deltawellnessgroup.com. And if somebody is outside of this area, the website is www.icakusa.com. ICAK meaning International College of Applied Kinesiology. That website has a lot of good information about kinesiology and also can lead you to the doctor in your area that does this kind of work.
Well, thank you so much for being a guest on our show. It was wonderful to have you.
Thank you.
We learned a lot, so thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to share with you some of my thoughts about faith and how faith fits into the whole picture of being whole. It's a very important part of it, of course, and many people, if not most people around the planet, have faith. And many of you have a very important faith to you. So a lot of what faith is to do, or how it plays a part in our life, is ask, why am I here? What am I here for? What is my purpose? How do I fit in this large, huge universe? And I think it's the question when you ask that, you need to say, why? What am I here for? And what you've been taught things in regards to your faith, if you're living in an Islamic country or a Christian or a Hindu, you've been taught certain things, or even an atheistic culture, you've been taught certain things. And what I want to encourage you to do is say, okay, how is my faith helping me be whole? How is my faith helping me care for and love other people? And if it's doing that, and it's helping me grow, then you have a very beautiful faith. And I want to encourage you to just keep growing in your faith. But if you find that your faith perhaps is causing you to hurt other people, or animosity, or causing you to most likely hurt yourself, then just reflect on that and say, I wonder if there's part of my faith here I need to reconsider. Because all of us, myself, all of us were exposed to a conditioned faith that's been passed on from generation to generation. And because the universe is a very complex place, it's difficult to say there is one answer. And we're also steeped in culture. Our culture affects us. So if there's part of the culture, and maybe not that your faith is beautiful, but maybe there's a tradition that came from a parent that really isn't really your faith, it's more their parenting conditioning, you may say, this isn't helping me. I'm not loving people well through this. So reflect on that and say, maybe I can find a different aspect of my faith, my religion, my beliefs to help me grow and love other people and myself better. And also in regards to faith, it's important to say, why am I here? Someday, every viewer and myself are going to die. And I think it's very important to say, why am I here? What is my mission here? What is my purpose for being here? And reflect on that pretty regularly. I think it's really healthy. Too often we think we're going to live forever, or death is far off in the distance. And I have found personally, it's much healthier for me to think, I don't know if God's going to give me another day. So given that, how do I live really present, really full and richly today? Because if today were my last day to live, would I live differently? And if so, perhaps I can move in that direction to live more that way. We all can. So I think if keeping in mind that the end is coming, your end is coming, and that because of that, it makes you make better choices today, saying, okay, how when I die, am I going to look back on my life, that life review you may get? How will I look back on that? And have it be something you're proud of, something you're excited in. If you've loved others and you've loved yourself well, I think you're going to find it to be a very beautiful, rich life all along the way. And finally, I want to leave you with one important question, I feel probably the most important question you can ask yourself, but a very difficult question. The question is, who am I? I really feel that's the most important question in the universe. And now the caveat there, the thing you want to be aware of, you got to say, if I am, whatever I come up with, it can't be something that's impermanent. That means something that changes. So it has to be something that's permanent. If you really say, who am I? Who am I permanently, through the beginning to the end? Who am I? I think you'll find you'll go to a very deep place in life, a very rich place. And I'd love to hear back from you. We have a comment section you can make on this episode. And I'm not going to answer that question for you. I would like for you to really think about it, but think about it deeply, richly. Who am I? And be still with that and see what answers come. And you might be really pleasantly surprised at what you'll find if you truly, deeply explore that question. Because it's a beautiful question, and really one has been probably the most important question that has changed my life. Again, peace to you, and ask the question, who am I?
Our second question is from Daniela, who is from San Bernardino, California. And she writes in, can you talk about how to handle the stress from a partner's serious and chronic illness?
Daniela, a lot of people struggle with what you're struggling with around the world right now as caretakers. Many of us, if not all of us, will go through a period of our time where we're going to have to take care of someone, usually it's our parent. And it's important to say, okay, how do I, or my spouse, I think is another one is pretty normal as our spouse, but between those two, how do I take care of myself and love this person? And why do I say the first one? Because if you don't take care of yourself, and I don't know if Elizabeth has seen this, but I've seen this so many times, one person is taking care of the other, and when that person finally passes, or after years of helping them, they're so spent they almost die. It actually happened with my father. My mother died several years ago. My father was there so much caring for her and being there for her. He almost died. I mean, at one point, I remember visiting him, and they're from Arizona, and I visited him, and my mom was in the hospital, my brother-in-law was in the hospital, and my dad was in the hospital because everyone was just so stressed at the same time because my brother-in-law was dying too of a brain disease. So it's important to say, how do I love these people but take care of myself? And I think one of the most important things you can do is get people to help you so that you can have breaks. Mm-hmm. It's very important to have breaks. And during that break, you don't get everything done, but you go to the gym, you get a massage, you meet with friends, things that de-stress you. Can you think of some other ideas?
There's lots of many ways, we talk about on the show of handling stress. You could paint, you could, exercise, go to the gym, some of the ones that you mentioned. But I think it's really important to talk about, which I've said it before in regards to parenting, and it's the same issue here. Mm-hmm. You need to take care of yourself first. If you're not okay, how can you really truly be there for the person that you're caring for? It's going to wear on you, it's going to take its toll, and yes, eventually you actually could get sick from it, because stress, it's unbelievable how powerful it is and how it has the ability to get you sick too. So I've used the example in past episodes about, the oxygen mask if you're on the airplane, and they tell you that, if an emergency the oxygen masks come down, you need to put it on yourself first before you put it on the person next to you who needs assistance, who might be a child, who might be an elderly person. Because if you're not breathing right and you're unconscious, how can you help this person? And I think what happens is our hearts are so into helping whoever we care for that we spend all of our energy doing that, and we stop caring for ourselves. And that's a problem, because then you're going to be sick. So it's talking about boundaries, it's setting those boundaries to take care of yourself and making time each day to take care of yourself, whether it's meditating, whether it's going for a walk, which I really, really recommend, and getting massages too. If your stress level is increased, you need to do lots of things to make sure you take care of yourself. I know getting a massage can be expensive. Do other things then. Going for a walk is free. Going outside and enjoying the flowers and finding beauty in things is free. Taking a hot bath is free. Okay, you do have to pay for the water, but you're going to have to take a shower hopefully eventually anyway, right? So do those things to fill yourself up so you can actually be there and help the person that you're with even more, because what's so important is that spirit, that light within you as well. That's what helps people to get better too, is that belief and the hope.
And I'm thinking about that too. I think the number one thing that keeps people from doing the self-care that we're talking about is guilt. Mm-hmm. We feel guilty. I'm supposed to be there for them all the time, 100%, and I'm going to have all this guilt if I'm not there. You have all that guilt. And the guilt actually isn't healthy. It isn't helping you. It's going to wear you out. and do your best. But I think if you have someone, maybe no one can do it as well as you, but they can be there. They can love the person that you're taking care of. They can help them so that you can take care of yourself. And by that self-care, you actually will do a better job. We do a better job as a parent, as a caretaker, as a human being when our plate is full. Part of being holistically successful is that you matter too. And I think in the equation of life, we forget ourselves. And guilt pushes us to always be taking care of other people. So if you take care of yourself, guilt may arise, but walk through that, push through that, and keep doing it because it's a very, very healthy thing to do.
And we wish you the best of luck, and we are really sorry that you are going through this because we know that it's difficult. But if you do those steps to take care of yourself, you will be more available to help the person that you're helping. And we wish you all the best, and thank you so much for your question. This week's quote is from Peace Pilgrim, who is a peace activist and a spiritual leader. And she said that if you realized how powerful your thoughts are, you would never think a negative thought. So I really want you to take that with you this week and really try to have positive thoughts, because when you think negative, that affects everything that you do, everything that comes out of your mouth, how you treat others, and ultimately how you treat yourself. Good luck. Thank you for joining us on the Holistic Success Show. We can't do it without you, so please write to us with your questions. And if you haven't subscribed to our website already, please do so you can know all about what we're doing.
And if you have a business or organization and would like to be part of spreading the message of holistic success around the world, we'd love to have you be part of our show. Learn about our sponsorship at our website,
www.theholisticsuccessshow.com. Thank you very much.